thanks to everyone attending today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days. I'm really looking forward to sharing more about Ting's experience with Amazon Connect. Before I introduce myself, I want to share my three promises to you for our time together today. First, I'd like for each of you to come away with ideas for how you can reduce your contact center expenses, gain some better understanding how you can gain leverage on your contact center investment while decreasing your overall risk. And third, to just get a better sense of how these investments will help you future-proof your contact center investment going into what looks like it might be a period of economic uncertainty. Just a little bit about me and the organization I work for. I've been working on the internet since 1993. Coincidentally, I've been with Tucows for that entire time. We were initially known as Internet Direct, a Canadian ISP. We were the largest privately held ISP through the 90s, where I was head of marketing and commercial product. And at Tucows, I've since gone on to lead the launch of OpenSRS and Hover, and I'm currently the Chief Customer Officer at Ting. I wanted to step through the journey that we took to become an Amazon Connect customer. First off, we started in the 90s. We had a hardware PBX in the closet. It was literally a big rack mount of line cards on a chassis that was connected to a bunch of wires coming out of the wall that connected us to the phone system and made the big desk phones ring throughout the office. It was big, expensive, super cumbersome, really expensive to acquire, expensive to administer all of that. And at the time, we had to buy it through a reseller who handled all of the setup and ongoing administration. So you can just imagine what that cost in terms of efficiencies and dollars and so on. As soon as technology permitted, we transitioned out of that hardware arrangement into more flexible arrangement where we're relying on software and line cards coming into a server now, as opposed to a big chassis. But it was all in that same closet. And so we kind of decreased the footprint. That allowed us to move to in-house provisioning administration of our telephony systems, but it was still super expensive, very cumbersome. We had to write custom reporting just to get, call arrival patterns and, count of calls and, very simple metrics. And, was not exactly a modern or elegant approach. And it was really the only approach in the early 2000s. Fortunately, we were able to transition to a third-party contact center in the early 2010s. The state of the art then, as near as we were able to tell, was either a really fancy version of the hardware in the closet or hosted applications in a vendor data center. And what we were sold at the time was the vendor giving us an on-prem version of their telephony package, and rather than installing it in our data center or one of our closets, they installed it in theirs. It made it accessible to us using a remote desktop client. And so you can imagine how well it worked. And it was just not a great experience for either our staff, management, or our customers, frankly. Very shortly after that, fortunately, we were relieved by the emergence of what I would call real cloud or SaaS providers in the contact center space. And we were fortunate to select a SaaS provider that had made a really significant and in my opinion, a really smart bet on the rise of a technology called WebRTC. The only significance of that technology really was that it allowed anyone with a web browser anywhere in the world to be an advisor in our contact center. So we could deploy very cheap hardware to our staff, set them up with a minimal technology footprint, and a headphone, much like this one, and they were now able to be an advisor. So that really freed us up. The downside was that it came, all of that flexibility came with over $1 million a year in per seat licensing fees. So every time we grew the business, we get more customers, we get more questions into the contact center, and then we'd have to pay more licensing fees. So it was elegant but expensive, and the expense was growing. That growing expense ultimately made its way to our CFO's office. and we were really just increasingly dissatisfied by those ever increasing fees. That caused us to take a serious look at the alternatives starting about 2 years ago now. And we ultimately made the decision to embrace the contact center as a service model. That led us to eventually migrate our operations to Amazon Connect. And our bet shifted from a specific technology, that enablement that WebRTC had given us, to a more generalized platform and the openness and flexibility that came with it. It also allowed us to transition to on-demand and usage-based pricing, and ended our dependence on that per-seat licensing model, and eventually, very quickly pulled over $1 million a year in operating costs out of our contact center budget. So other than those obvious cost benefits, why else is Amazon Connect's on-demand approach so critical to our operations? Really, there's 3 things that I would highlight here. It's the availability of the data is very important to us. Not only the visibility that it gives our contact center staff and management, but how we're able to expose that data to other applications throughout our organization for further analysis, reporting, and repurposing in other applications. Secondly, it gives us a high degree of autonomy and flexibility in how we put all of our technology pieces together. Many SaaS contact center applications create constraints in how a business should operate because of the design decisions that go into their soup to nuts application, where Amazon Connect allows us to make those decisions using simple and straightforward means. We're also able to embed these applications and connect Amazon Connect to our event-driven architecture and embed it in customer-facing applications in our digital and mobile applications, which is very, very important for us. Early in our implementation, we saw a few key wins that I'd like to highlight. First, the implementation was very, very smooth and very expedient from my perspective. Whenever you're making a transition like this, I worry about adoption, about downtime related to training, technology gotchas that we hadn't anticipated in our planning. And so we're able to use one of Amazon's partners to build capacity internally to help us manage through the initial implementation, and take that capacity that we, that learning that we built through the implementation, and transition management and administration of the platform to our in-house resources fairly quickly and fairly painlessly. And that was so that having that accelerated time to value was really, really easy. And quite appreciated. Second, this was a really nice win that I'd really counted as being or anticipated as being quite painful at first, and turned out to be actually about as easy as falling out of bed. In implementing Amazon Connect, we had to port over all of our PCI compliance processes. And so deploying contact lens to redact the call transcripts was a really easy decision for us. Our prior implementation required the upgrade to a more expensive license tier so we could get higher volume API limits. We then had to kind of take that capability to another third-party SaaS vendor that provided specific redaction capabilities, just so that we could get sensitive data out of our call recordings. And moving to Amazon Connect using contact lens, that process was incredibly simple. It was all conducted under the same technology umbrella on the same platform, and that allowed us to really simplify our technology stack and reduce our overall costs. And this is connected to that last thought. This is a quote from one of the people working on the project who had to actually do the work to implement the redaction. And it just highlighted how much easier it is for us to turn ideas into action now. There's so much ease of use baked into these services that we're able to get more of our people innovating on the platform, and that the learning curve associated with that platform is shallow enough that we can trust prototyping and deployment to much less senior staff. And so, kind of getting into wrap up here, what's next for us with Amazon Connect? We're looking in 23 to give our advisors even more visibility to customer activity by surfacing additional data through the Amazon Connect customer profiles. That's going to allow us to match incoming phone numbers and customer IDs to existing customer records and just service a broader unified profile for each of our internal advisors. Second, we're increasing our investment in integration of the Connect platform with our event-driven architecture. That's going to make more data available from Amazon Connect to the other applications we have in our operations, our CRM, marketing platforms, and so on, as well as make data from those applications available to Amazon Connect. So that should just really streamline a lot of our data flows and enable just better analysis and real-time decision making. Third, this is what I'm particularly looking forward to. We have a large amount of interactions with residents in the cities where we're building networks. That comes as a result of our construction activity. Construction can be messy, and sometimes that includes accidentally digging up somebody's flower bed or splashing concrete on their car, and then of course they need to call me or call us. And getting a better understanding of what's going on in these calls and the sentiment associated with these calls is really going to allow us to put data into the hands of these local teams much quicker to allow them to make better decisions about the performance of the construction teams in each market, the contractors we're working with, and just start, the general processes that we use when we're engaging in construction in these communities. And then lastly, we're looking forward to cataloging our interactions by leveraging the automated call summaries that are available in Amazon Connect and making those available in our case management processes and using them as inputs to decision-making in sales, marketing, and our construction operations. I think there's a million other things that I could cover, and I could go on for a fair bit more, but it looks like we're at time here. So at this point, I'd like to introduce the team from BrantTel Networks, who will take us through some specific Allen Hands demonstrations. And I'd like to thank you all for your participation so far.
Thanks a lot, Ross. And thanks again to everyone for joining us on the webinar. Let's take a look into some of these great Amazon Connect features that Ross just referred to and a few more. And we'll do so through the perspective of your customers first to demonstrate how these different services come together to provide you the most seamless customer experience possible.
Hello, thank you for calling Future Bank. I recognize the phone number that you're calling from, but I do need to verify your identity. Can you please tell me your first and last name?
Nikki Wolf.
Thank you, Nikki. How can I help you today?
I'm moving provinces and I just need to update my address.
I can help you update your address. Can you start by giving me your new postal code?
It's M5T3E5.
And what is the street number?
200.
And street name?
College Street.
Great, thank you, Nikki. Your new address is 200 College Street, M5T, 3E5, Toronto, Ontario. Is this correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I've confirmed your new address and sent an SMS for your record.
I got the notification, thank you.
Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Yes, there is. I've been meaning to find out why I don't have a gold card. I'm planning to travel next month and I want the gold card benefits. It's been really frustrating because I'm supposed to have one with my VIP account. Nobody's reached out to me about it yet.
I'm transferring you to an agent that can help you with your accounts. Your wait time is approximately 1 minute.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for calling today. I see you're calling regarding the gold credit card. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And quite frankly, I'm very frustrated that I didn't get a gold card yet. As a VIP member, I thought I would get it right away. It just doesn't make sense to me why I've waited so long. I'm actually traveling next month and I really needed that card for the benefits. Can you get me the card soon? And what would the account limit be on it?
Oh, so sorry to hear about that, Nikki. I'm going to go ahead and try and resolve this for you immediately. Let me first take a look here and see if I can get the card out to you as quickly as possible. I'm seeing here that you are eligible for the gold card. And even better, if you sign up today, I can waive the fees for the first year. The credit limit looks like is for $5,000. Would you like me to go ahead and process your application now?
That all sounds great. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and process your application. Give me a few moments and I'll verify everything is complete. Great, it looks like you've been approved. You should receive the card very shortly and a notification in your inbox.
Yes, I see it now. And how quickly will I get my new credit card?
You should be getting it in about 2 weeks or so.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
My pleasure, Nikki. Is there anything else I can help you out with today?
No, that's all for today. Thank you so much.
Great. Have a fantastic day and thank you for choosing Future Bank.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So let's talk about what we just saw. Nikki initially called her bank for a request to update her address, but then she recalled that she's not yet received her gold credit card and that she was supposed to automatically get with her new VIP bank package. And now with some travel coming up, those gold credit card travel benefits would have come in really handy. And of course, like many of us, she was also short on time and was hoping not to spend her entire lunch break at work on the phone with her bank. So after the initial conversation with the chatbot and eventually with the agent Arthur, her inquiry was properly addressed and resulted in a rather positive experience. Now, this may have sounded simple, but achieving the same outcome using the traditional contact center technology is complex, time-consuming, and expensive. Amazon Connect, on the other hand, can easily deliver this experience. Let's investigate how. While we were listening to the call, there were a few different things going on in the backend. First and foremost, when Nikki calls the bank, she's greeted by an automated AI bot that uses natural language understanding. The bot verifies her identity to establish who she is and then follows on to provide her a personalized experience based on her profile. It identifies her intention to update her address and is integrated to Future Bank's backend business applications where it was able to update her new address. All this while conversing with Nikki in a natural language dialogue, and most importantly, without making Nikki wait in the queue for a live agent to become available. Now, once the address update was successful, an automatic notification was triggered in the backend to send the change confirmation out to Nikki's registered email ID and or the mobile phone. After the address update, an automatic sentiment analysis would detect some frustration in Nikki's voice for not having received her gold card, and this triggered a workflow to transfer such calls directly to a more experienced agent, bypassing other more intermediary options. When Arthur, the Future Bank agent, gets the call, he also receives a whisper message to inform him of the purpose or the intent of the call, an escalation for a gold credit card application delay. And the same intent or the queue information can also be shown via an agent UI, either deployed as a standalone application on the agent desktop or embedded in your preferred business applications that the agents anyway spend most of their day working in. And either of those options provides the agents everything that he needs to assist Nikki, including her customer profile as well as her past interaction history. Also, on the same application, Arthur also got a confidence score of the customer's validated identity using her biometric voice ID. And at the same time, the initial negative customer sentiment originating from her frustration at not being able to use the gold card travel benefits for her upcoming travels was captured in a sentiment analysis and triggers another escalation rule set up to also automatically flag the call in the supervisor dashboard, from where they can either just listen into it or even provide some guidance to the agents in the real time while they're on the call with the customer. Similar rules can also be set up to detect exact words or phrases or other conversation behavior like the periods of silence or crosstalk, and can also trigger workflows and external applications, both in the real time as well as based on some post-call analysis. Now, also based on the actual questions asked by the customer, Amazon Connect provides automatic real-time knowledge-based lookup to assist the agents with the information that they need. For example, the gold card's eligibility criteria in this case, instead of them manually typing in search queries into their knowledge base. And this empowers your agents to resolve the issues more quickly and accurately. And finally, the entire conversation was also automatically captured, including the recording, the transcription, and the sentiment analysis throughout the conversation. A sentiment score is calculated and displayed in the contact record, just next to the things like automatic summary of the issue, the resolution, and the next actions, without any manual involvement from the agents or the QA staff. So this demonstrates the power of Amazon Connect. Look at all the events and insights that we gained from a single quick interaction. And this is just one example of customer interaction, but Amazon Connect allows you to deliver this at scale with both the calls and your staff spread across different geographies, time zones, languages, or channels that your customers may choose to contact you. Now, being inherently omnichannel, it uses the same conversational bots and the same contact flows for both the voice and web chat. And this makes the administration and the changes to the contact flows simple and quick to deploy. Let us take a look at Nikki reaching out again to Future Bank contact center on web chat. And this time she's looking to report a charge on her account that she does not recognize and could be a fraud. This will also show us a good example of how the tasks and workflows can be automated to streamline, simplify, and without much human effort, provide excellent customer experience. When Nikki reports a fraudulent charge on her account, the virtual assistant will capture all the relevant information, wrap it up in a task, and assign it to the contact center agent to further investigate the fraudulent charges that have been reported. And when an agent who's qualified to deal with fraud reporting becomes available the next time, he or she gets the tasks delegated to them with the notification on the same user interface client that they've been using to take customer calls. And based on the business workflow, they also have an option to click, for example, Nikki's phone number to initiate a callback if needed. Now, let's see how this looks on the agent's interface.
Hello, this is Future Bank calling. Please note this call may be recorded for quality and training purposes.
Hi, Nikki. I'm calling you back regarding the fraudulent charges you reported the other day.
Hello, yes. Thank you for calling me back. Did you find out what happened?
Yes, after our fraud department reviewed your case, they did in fact conclude that this charge was fraudulent. Due to your card being compromised, I've already gone ahead and credited your account for $200.
Okay, I see it.
Okay, great. One more thing. Because your card was compromised, you will need a replacement card. You will receive the replacement card in the next few days. In case you need to use your card immediately, you can obtain a temporary one at your closest branch on 500 Yonge Street. And as an extra layer of safety, you'll also have to reset your PIN to make sure your account is safe.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really do need the card today, so I'm going to head into the nearest branch, as you mentioned, and I will pick it up today.
Great. Is there anything else I can help you out with today?
No, that's all for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for choosing Future Bank, and have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.
We can also configure the system to make these tasks exclusive, meaning an agent cannot move on to any other calls or chats or other tasks without completing their current assignment. And the tasks can also be assigned either to the individual resources or to appropriate queues determined by the routing profiles configured in the system. Now, having looked through the contact center operations from a perspective of your customers and the agents, let us also take a look at the supervisor or the contact center manager's view as well. Amazon Connect provides a very flexible yet powerful platform for the reporting and analytics. It starts with an extensive set of real-time and historical reports and dashboards that are available right out of the box, but even more powerful is the complete flexibility and control and access of raw data that we can develop some very intuitive customer reports, visualizations, and dashboards from in business analytics platform of your choice. And this provides you the ability to mine for very powerful insights into agents and the team's performance or the service levels or any other business metrics that you might see value in measuring and monitoring ongoing within your contact center. Here's an example of the art of the possible. A sample dashboard for the supervisors that shows visualizations from the real-time events coming from Amazon Connect for both the queue and the agent metrics. The billboards on the top represent different queue metrics with the options to configure the thresholds and the traffic light system to monitor the queue performance. Underneath those, we have widgets with a 24-hour view and a 30-minute view of what's going on in the contact center. On the bottom left, I can drill into the abandoned calls by the queue. For example, 24 customers abandoned in the VIP queue, and then just to the right of it, we choose to further dissect the abandoned calls while they were in the queue versus abandoned while ringing. On the bottom right, we have the agent view of all the agents assigned to the supervisor with the current state that they are in and for how long. And more importantly, all these widgets can be created on the fly by the supervisors themselves, resized and placed anywhere on the browser window for emphasis, for example, by simple drag and drop, and no coding or programming skills are needed. Here's another example involving IVR or virtual assistant. Banking use case again, looking through a performance of a chatbot, but the same thing can also be applied to any other vertical or voice channel as well. Now, this cradle-to-grave view of abandoned interactions was designed to understand where in the IVR are the customers having maximum difficulty getting through. All the calls can be viewed down to the slot level that the interaction failed on or was abandoned on. As a quick example, let us initiate a chat session for the query intent and enter an incorrect date 3 times. And you can see how the number for intent query and the slot date have both been incremented by 1, which will tell you what proportion of the calls are being abandoned because of the customers having problems entering dates, and that we can then provide them more guidance or assistance on, thereby improving the overall customer experience. Now, here we've taken a similar intents and queues data and combined it with the NPS or the Net Promoter Score based on post-call surveys. On the top, we can see we can segregate the NPS data by the intents or by the agents. And on the bottom, we have used the customer journey approach similar to the last slide, but for the voice calls this time. And the customer journey is plotted through various channels, intents, and queues, and finally mapped to the promoter, detractor, or passive scores that the customers have assigned to their experience. And this is the final customer journey dashboard I wanted to show, that just gives you a high-level visualization of what's happening in the overall contact center. Here we have the channels the customers came in on, the different intents that they expressed, the outcomes, or automated handling of the calls versus the queues, and the NPS scores, all within the same customer journey map. So some high-level insights we can see. 60% of the contacts or the customers have come in into the contact center have been automated. Or that 43% of the customers started interacting with the contact center through the chat, compared to 22% via voice. Or we can say 70% of the chats were automated. And I can also jump further into the intents. 32% mentioned list repair as their intent and of those 22% were down to make a payment. And 100% of the customers that went on to move queue, 0 were automated. So again, this might suggest that we might want to bump up the level of automation here rather than letting all those interactions escape to an agent. And finally, 52% of these customers have identified as promoters, and all the journeys that have led to this positive experience can be highlighted. And here is another example of a simple dashboard similar to the supervisor view, but more suitable for a wallboard use case to be put at a sort of central location for the larger team to glance at. And you can set the thresholds to emphasize certain metrics, changing in the real time. And we'll make a quick call to the contact center. The calls in the queue will take up, and the ones answered by the agent, the calls handled number is incremented, and the calls in the queue go back to 0. So this concludes our demonstration of how Amazon Connect works to deliver great experience to your customers, to your agents, to your supervisors, managers. And now I'm going to pass it over to Frank to discuss some key ideas on working with BrantTel specifically to accelerate your customer experience success.
Thanks, Navjit. Now that you've seen and heard what's possible with Amazon Connect and Ross's success with it, how can you get started? I'm Frank Mirecki, the CEO of BrantTel Networks, joining you live from Burlington, Ontario today. I wanted to let you know that you don't have to attempt a contact center migration or innovation project on your own. I'm going to share how we've helped Canadian organizations accelerate their customer experience success. BrantTel has a lot of experience in the contact center space. In fact, we've been designing, deploying, and supporting contact centers for over 40 years. We've helped hundreds of clients modernize their contact centers. We've worked with contact centers that have 5,000 agents and ones that are completely agentless and everything in between. BrantTel is proud to be the first managed Amazon Connect service delivery partner based in Canada, which means we specialize in helping companies realize the full value of the Amazon Connect platform. The service delivery program ensures that we've been validated by AWS to have deep technical knowledge, experience, and proven success in delivering Amazon Connect. We work closely with the AWS team to accelerate your journey. On the screen, you can see a typical timeline for a project or a pilot project with Amazon Connect to give you a sense of how quickly Amazon Connect can be deployed and make a change in your organization. Lastly, we leverage the AWS migration programs to accelerate your cloud contact center migration. Once we've assessed your contact center needs, we identify the programs that align with your journey, which can include AWS investments or funds available to help offset one-time migration expenses or the costs of pilots. Now we'll move on to some questions. So thank you everyone for using the Q&A function. If you haven't asked a question that you have, you can ask it now live using the Q&A button on the bottom of your Zoom webinar, and we'll get to some of those questions and answer them live. Thanks. So we'll get the first question. Ross, there's a few questions that came in for you. If you want to, we'll start with the first question here. Of someone was asking, what did you use for the phones that weren't in the contact center?
Oh yeah, that's very interesting and almost like a separate presentation. Back in the day when we had the hardware in the closet, we used the hardware in the closet. But we've since taken a very definite and separate path for our what we call our office telephony and our contact center telephony. And over the years, we've used a variety of third-party SaaS providers. Frankly, our usage of office telephony is very, very small. And most people just end up using their iPhones or their Android devices in place of those old desktop phones.
Great, thanks. Another question, what came in asking around the timeline of your Amazon Connect deployment, and was it deployed during the pandemic? And how did you get the confidence to shift your contact center during such a challenging time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the confidence itself came from the circumstances. In looking at, we'd started our journey into remote work prior to the pandemic. It was largely a response to, let's call it critical events and circumstances. We had a large operation in the Niagara Peninsula, which doesn't have great weather in the winter. So there were days when absenteeism would be, after a snowstorm would be crippling us. And like issuing our staff laptops instead of desktops and moving to the cloud instead of the closet, we learned that we could kind of increase or decrease absenteeism, make for happier employees, and so we gave them that flexibility prior to the pandemic. And the pandemic really just emboldened us to say, you know what, this is probably not going to be over in 3 weeks. So as a business, let's take a very conservative view that this is going to at least go on for the next year. What do we need to change in our operations? And one of those was just more flexibility in how we approached our contact center technology stack. And so that brought us to a decision point very early on to actually relinquish some of our leasehold space and to revisit most of the vendor contracts we had in our technology stack, telephony amongst them. And then that eventually took us through a consideration period, which took us into an implementation in late. Everything's a blur. I'm pretty sure it was late 21 with lighting it up in early 2022.
Great, thanks. The next question I'm going to raise, I'll maybe have Navjit answer. Is it possible to keep all data and recordings in Canada?
Yes, absolutely. AWS has a region in Canada that we can definitely use for storage of all the data and recordings in Canada. Frank.
Great. Another question. How does Amazon Connect manage personal and financial data?
So yeah, that's a great question as well. I think Ross referred to it earlier on in his presentation as well. Basically, just to protect your customers' privacy, Amazon Connect has a great feature in Contact Lens, which just lets you redact sensitive data from the conversation transcripts and even the audio recordings of those calls. And it just redacts your sensitive data, including first name, last name, personal address of the customers, credit card information, most importantly, using basically natural language algorithms built into the system itself.
Fantastic. Another Canadian question. Can I use my Canadian phone numbers with Amazon Connect?
That's right, absolutely. Yes, you could, well, obviously, acquire new phone numbers as well as move your existing phone numbers, both your DIDs and 1-800 numbers from any of the other telecom service providers in Canada over to AWS and use them with the Amazon Connect.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
And I don't see other open questions in the Q&A. So that concludes the Q&A section for today.
Great.
On the screen, you'll see as a next step options if you want to book a 30-minute session to just discuss Amazon Connect or your contact center needs and challenges to see if it would be a good fit. As well as today, we covered as much as we could in a demonstration, but we understand every contact center is unique. If you're looking for something specific that we didn't get a chance to cover today, also via that link is an option to schedule a more detailed demonstration where we can focus in on the use cases that would be more relevant or specific to your organization or vertical. And lastly, the email addresses of all the participants today is also shared today.
Great. Thanks so much, Frank. And, we covered a lot of information today. And I'd really like to thank Ross Rader for sharing Tucows' journey to Amazon Connect and the rich insight into the business value that Amazon Connect has been able to deliver. Certainly being able to drive $1 million of cost out of your business was a significant achievement. And to have an understanding in terms of, the agility that Amazon Connect has been able to give your business and your plans to continue to iterate on your existing platform to try to find new and better ways to serve your customers was really fantastic information. So thank you for that, Ross.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah. And Navjit, really appreciate the great information on those connected digital journeys, those effortless journeys that we're able to deliver to customers. Whether a customer starts with web-based self-service or voice self-service through conversational IVR, to be able to seamlessly and effortlessly, without friction, escalate to an agent and empower that agent with more information than they've ever had before so they can extend that great level of customer service. That's the power of Amazon Connect and the fact that we've got artificial intelligence and machine learning infused throughout that journey for automation and agent augmentation. Those, again, were tremendous insights today. So thank you so much for the attendees, for your time today. Hopefully you've been able to get some great value from the session today. Have a great rest of the day, and this ends our webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.